The morning I lost everything, it rained. Not dramatic, cinematic rain. Not a downpour that matched the feeling in my chest. Just a gray, relentless drizzle that turned the parking lot outside the bank into a smear of wet concrete and fluorescent light bleeding through frosted glass doors. I sat in my car for 40 minutes after they told me. The branch manager, a man named Gerald, with kind eyes and an apologetic posture, had walked me through it. The accounts, the signatures, the paperwork that had been filed 6 weeks earlier, quietly, thoroughly, with all the right legal language to make it look like something I had agreed to. I had not agreed to anything, but my signature was on every page. "I am sorry," Gerald said. He meant it, I think, or he was very good at pretending. "If you believe there has been an error, I would recommend consulting with an attorney." An error. That was one word for it. I drove home through the rain, hands tight on the steering wheel, and did not call anyone. Not my sister, not my father, not a lawyer, not yet. I just drove and thought and let the silence in the car hold everything. I could not say out loud. My name is Nadia. I was 31 years old when my life was dismantled piece by piece by the one person who was supposed to love me most. My mother's name is Diane. She was 57, sharp-featured, sharp-tongued, the kind of woman who walked into a room and made everyone in it adjust. Not because she was loud, because she was certain of her opinions, certain of her judgments, certain of exactly where everyone in her life ranked. I had always been at the bottom of that ranking, not in an obvious way. Diane was too careful for obvious cruelty. She never screamed at me, never said I was worthless or unwanted. She simply redirected. Every resource, every piece of attention, every ounce of energy flowed toward my older brother, Marcus. Marcus was 34, charming, unreliable, and perpetually in some kind of trouble that Diane rushed to fix. Failed businesses, bad relationships, gambling debts he minimized as entertainment expenses. Diane always cleaned up after him with the same quick, efficient energy she brought to everything else. For me, there was patience. And patience, in Diane's vocabulary, meant waiting. "You are so strong, Nadia," she used to say. "You do not need help the way Marcus does." I heard it my whole life. I stopped hearing it as a compliment a long time ago. I need to tell you how it started. Not with the bank, not with the signatures, but years before, when the foundation was being laid so carefully I did not even notice. I was 22 when my grandmother died. Her name was Ruth. She was a small, quiet woman who smelled like lavender and kept a garden full of things she never needed anyone else to tend. She loved me in the way some grandparents love a particular grandchild, privately, fiercely, with a tenderness that felt like a secret. Ruth left me money, not a fortune, but substantial. $80,000 in a savings account she had built over decades of careful, disciplined living. Diane called me the day after the funeral. I had been crying. My eyes were swollen, my voice raw. "Sweetheart," Diane said, and her voice was soft, the way it always was when she wanted something. "I need to talk to you about the inheritance." "What about it?" "Ruth left you the money. That is wonderful. But you are 22. You do not know how to manage that kind of money yet. It is $80,000, Mom. Not $1 million. Still, it is a lot for someone your age. I have been thinking, and I really believe it would be smart to put it somewhere safe, somewhere it can grow, like a savings account, like an investment account. I know someone, a financial advisor, who could help you set it up. He is very good, very trustworthy." Something in my gut tightened, a small warning signal, the kind you learn to ignore when you are young and you trust your mother. "Who is this advisor?" "His name is Dennis Chen. He has managed money for several families in the area. He came very highly recommended." "Recommended by whom?" "By Marcus, actually. Marcus has been working with him for about a year." "Marcus. Of course, I will think about it," I said. "Do not think too long," Diane said. "The longer money sits in a basic account, the less it earns. You do not want to lose out on potential growth." She hung up before I could respond. I did think about it, and then I called Marcus. "Hey, Nadia," he said, casual, cheerful. Marcus was always cheerful, even when he had no reason to be. It was a kind of armor. "Tell me about Dennis Chen." "Oh, great guy. Really smart about investments. He helped me restructure some of my assets last year." "What assets, Marcus?" "Last I checked, you owed 3 people money." He laughed. "Details. The point is, Dennis knows what he is doing. Mom thinks you should talk to him." I know what Mom thinks. I am asking you. Talk to him, Marcus said. You will not regret it. I did not call Dennis Chen. Not then. I put Ruth's money in a high-yield savings account at my own bank and left it alone. But Diane brought it up again and again. Every phone call, every visit, every holiday dinner. Have you spoken to Dennis yet? Have you thought any more about investing? Marcus and I were just talking about how much better your money could be working for you. The pressure was constant, gentle, relentless, like water wearing down stone. 6 months later, I caved. I met Dennis Chen at his office downtown. Small space, tasteful furniture, certificates on the wall. He was smooth, professional, reassuring in the way that financial advisors often are, which is to say he made complexity feel manageable and risk feel distant. Your mother tells me you inherited some money from your grandmother, he said. $80,000. That is a great starting point. With the right strategy, we can grow that significantly over the next 10 years. He showed me charts, projections, scenarios where my money doubled, tripled more. What are the FEs? I asked. Very reasonable. 2% annually on managed assets. 2% sounded small. It was not small, but I did not know that yet. Can I think about it? Of course. Take your time. But I would not wait too long. Time in the market is the most powerful tool you have. I went home and thought about it for a week. Then I called Diane. I am going to meet with Dennis again, I said. But I want to look at everything carefully before I sign anything. Of course, Diane said. Take your time. But Dennis is very good, Nadia. I really trust him. I signed the paperwork 2 weeks later. Dennis set up an investment account in my name. I deposited the $80,000. He told me he would manage it, that I would receive quarterly statements, that I could withdraw money at any time with a 10-day notice period. For 3 years, everything seemed fine. I received statements showing modest growth. My balance went from $80,000 to $85,000 to $91,000. Steady, unremarkable, exactly what Dennis had promised. I felt secure. I felt like I had done the responsible thing. I did not look closely at the statements. That was my mistake. During those same 3 years, my life was taking shape. I got my degree in nursing. Grueling program, nights on my feet, little sleep, less money. I graduated and got a job at a regional hospital. Not glamorous work, but steady, important. I was good at it. I moved into a small apartment near the hospital, furnished it myself with furniture from thrift stores and discount websites. A second-hand couch that smelled like someone else's dog until I washed the cushions 3 times. A kitchen table I painted white in my parking lot on a Saturday afternoon. It was mine, small and imperfect and entirely mine. I started saving again. After Ruth's money was invested, I rebuilt from zero. $100 here to 100 there, slowly, patiently, the way Ruth herself had done it. I was building something, slowly, quietly, without help, and every time Diane called, she reminded me how fortunate I was to have Dennis managing my inheritance. How is your investment doing? She would ask. Fine, I think. I have not looked at it recently. You should look at it more often. Dennis says it is performing well. This struck me as odd in retrospect. Why would she know what Dennis said about my account unless she was talking to him? But I did not ask. I was busy. I was tired. I was building a life, and the account felt like a problem I had already solved. The cracks started showing when I was 28. I wanted to buy a house. Nothing extravagant, a small condo, maybe, somewhere close to the hospital. I sat down with a mortgage calculator and started running numbers. I needed a down payment. 20% would be ideal. For a $250,000 condo, that was $50,000. I had been saving for 2 years. I had about $15,000 in my personal account. But I also had Ruth's money, which by now, according to the last statement I had glanced at, should have been around $95,000. $95,000 plus $15,000 was more than enough. I called Dennis to discuss withdrawing a portion of my investment account. Of course, he said. I will just need you to sign a withdrawal form. I can have it couriered to you. Can I come in person? A pause. Slight, barely noticeable. I am actually traveling this week, but the courier service is very efficient. You will have the form within 2 business days. The form arrived. I signed it without reading every line because I trusted him, because Diane trusted him, because he had been managing my money for 3 years without incident. 3 weeks later, I checked my account balance online. It was $4,200. I called Dennis. The number went to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I called Diane. Mom, something is wrong with my investment account. What do you mean? The balance is showing $4,200. It should be around $95,000. A pause. Are you sure you are reading it correctly? I am looking at it right now. It says $4,200. Well, markets fluctuate. Maybe there was a correction. A correction does not take $90,000, Mom. Have you called Dennis? He is not answering. I am sure there is an explanation. Try again tomorrow. I tried again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Dennis Chen had disappeared. Not literally, he was not missing, but his phone went straight to voicemail. His office was locked, lights off, no answering service, nothing. I filed a complaint with the State Financial Regulatory Board. A woman named Sarah took my information in a calm, professional voice that told me this was not the first time she had heard this story. We will look into it, she said. In the meantime, I would recommend consulting with an attorney. I hired a lawyer named Patricia Huang. She was small, precise, and ruthless in the way that good lawyers are. She reviewed everything I had, the original paperwork, the quarterly statements, the withdrawal form I had signed. She was quiet for a long time after reading through the documents. Nadia, she said finally, I need to ask you something. Okay. Did you read this withdrawal form before you signed it? I glanced at it. Why? This form does not authorize a withdrawal of $50,000 from your account. It authorizes the transfer of all remaining funds to a different account. My stomach dropped. What account? Patricia showed me. The transfer destination was an account in a name I did not recognize. A shell company, she explained, likely set up specifically for this purpose. So Dennis Chen moved all my money. It appears so. But Nadia, there is something else. She turned the page. At the bottom of the form, in small print, was a clause I had not read. A clause that stated that by signing the form, I was acknowledging and authorizing the transfer and waiving my right to dispute it for a period of 180 days. 180 days, I said. 6 months. We are already past that deadline, so I cannot dispute it. It is complicated. The waiver is questionable in terms of enforceability, but it will slow things down considerably. And Nadia, Patricia hesitated. I need you to understand something. Dennis Chen did not do this alone. What do you mean? These transactions, these account changes, they required authorization, not just yours. The original account setup included a co-manager. A co-manager? I never signed anything authorizing a co-manager. Patricia looked at me over the rim of her glasses. According to this paperwork, you did. On the same day you set up the account, 3 years ago, she showed me the form. I recognized my signature at the top. Below it, in a space I did not remember signing, was another signature. My mother's. I drove to Diane's house that night. It was raining again. The same gray, relentless drizzle that had been falling all week, turning the world into something muted and indistinct. Diane lived in a 2-story colonial on a quiet street lined with oak trees. The house was warm when I arrived, smelling of the lamb she had roasted for dinner, candles burning in the living room, soft music playing from a speaker somewhere I could not see. She was in the kitchen, cleaning up, wine glass in hand, cashmere sweater, the picture of a comfortable life. Nadia, she said when she saw me, I did not know you were coming. Are you hungry? There is leftover lamb. I need to talk to you. Something in my voice made her set down the wine glass. She turned to face me fully. What is wrong? I placed the documents on the counter between us. The withdrawal form, the co-manager authorization, the account statements showing the transfer. Do you want to explain this to me? Diane looked at the papers. Her expression did not change. Not surprise, not confusion, not guilt. Just a slight tightening around her eyes, a micro adjustment, the way someone repositions themselves before delivering a prepared answer. Sit down, she said. I do not want to sit down. I want to know why your signature is on my account, because I was trying to protect you. Protect me. By authorizing yourself as co-manager of my investment account without telling me? Dennis suggested it. He said it was a common precaution for younger investors. In case something happened to you, someone needed to be able to manage your assets, and you did not think to mention this to me? I did not want you to worry. It was a formality. It was not a formality. It gave you the ability to authorize transactions on my account. Diane picked up her wine glass again, took a sip, calm, controlled. I did not know Dennis was going to do what he did, she said. But you know what he did. I have suspicions, Mom. Do you know where my money went? She did not answer. Mom, I think Dennis moved it into an account that is connected to Marcus. The words landed like a physical blow. Marcus, I repeated. Marcus has been working with Dennis for years. They have a business arrangement. I did not know the details until recently. Until when? Until Dennis stopped answering his phone. I called Marcus about it. He was evasive. You told Marcus about my account. He already knew, Nadia. Dennis managed both of your accounts. There is no both. Marcus does not have any money to invest. He has debt. He has always had debt. Diane said nothing. How much? I asked. How much of my money went to Marcus? I do not know the exact amount. How much, Mom? Most of it. I stood there, in Diane's warm kitchen, surrounded by the smell of lamb and candle wax and the remnants of a comfortable evening, and felt the ground shift beneath me. You authorized yourself on my account, I said slowly, carefully, making sure she heard every word. You connected me to a financial advisor who was working with Marcus. You signed a form as co-manager without telling me. And now my money is gone. I did not steal from you. No, you just made it possible for Marcus to steal from me. I did not know he was going to, did you? I asked. Did you really not know? The silence that followed was the loudest thing I had ever heard from my mother. I left without another word, drove home through the rain, sat in my apartment on my thrift store couch, and stared at the wall. $80,000. Ruth's money. The money my grandmother had saved over a lifetime of careful, quiet discipline. Gone. Not stolen by a stranger. Not lost in a market crash. Moved deliberately. Through paperwork I had signed without reading, by people I had trusted completely, my mother and my brother. I called Patricia Huang the next morning. Dennis Chen is connected to my brother, I said. My mother authorized herself on my account without my knowledge. She is the co-manager. Patricia was quiet for a moment. This changes the case significantly. How? If your mother knowingly facilitated the transfer of funds to your brother, this is not just negligence. This is fraud. And it is fraud committed by someone who had legal authority over your account. What are my options? We can file a civil suit against Dennis Chen, your brother, and potentially your mother. But Nadia, I need to be honest with you. Even if we win, recovery is not guaranteed. The money may already be spent. Marcus, I said. Marcus would have spent it, probably. So I just lost everything. Not everything. You have your savings, your income, your career. The money is gone. But you are not. I hung up, sat at my kitchen table for a long time, drinking coffee that went cold. Then I started making a list. Over the next 3 months, I gathered everything. Every email Diane had sent about Dennis Chen, every text message between us about the investment account, phone records showing regular calls between Diane, Dennis, and Marcus. I requested copies of all account transactions from the Financial Regulatory Board. Sarah, the woman who had taken my initial complaint, was thorough. She sent me everything. And there it was, laid out in black and white. The money had not gone to Dennis. Dennis was a middleman, taking his fee and passing the rest along. The bulk of the funds, over $70,000, had been transferred in 4 installments over 2 years into an account registered to a company called Greenfield Ventures. Greenfield Ventures was owned by Marcus, not just owned, registered, with paperwork filed 6 months before I had set up my investment account. Marcus had set up the company before I had ever spoken to Dennis Chen, which meant this was planned. From the beginning, I sat with that knowledge for a long time. I did not confront Diane or Marcus. Not yet. Instead, I kept working, kept saving, rebuilt quietly, the way I had always done things. $100 here, to 100 there, slow and steady and invisible. And I kept gathering evidence, not for a lawsuit, though Patricia was still preparing one in the background. For something else, I was building a record, a clear, undeniable, documented history of exactly what had happened to Ruth's money and exactly who had been responsible. I wanted the truth to exist somewhere permanent, somewhere it could not be denied or rewritten or explained away. The breaking point came 6 months later, at Christmas dinner. Diane hosted, as she always did. The house was decorated with expensive garlands and candles and a centerpiece of white roses that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. The table was set for 12. Diane, Marcus's girlfriend of the month, two of Diane's friends and their husbands, and me. I almost did not go, but Patricia had advised me to maintain normal contact with both Diane and Marcus until the lawsuit was filed. So I went. The food was good. Diane was an excellent cook, always had been. The conversation flowed around me in the easy way it always did at her gatherings. People laughing, stories being told, wine being poured. Marcus sat across from me. He was thinner than the last time I had seen him, but still charming, still laughing, still the center of attention in a room. His girlfriend, a woman named Kayla, watched him with the wide-eyed admiration that Marcus inspired in women before they learned what he actually was. Somewhere between the appetizer and the main course, Diane turned to me. Nadia, how is work going? You look tired. Work is fine. You should take a vacation. You work too hard. I cannot afford a vacation right now, she said it then. So casually it almost did not register. Well, you did have that inheritance. If you had invested it more wisely, you would not be in this position. The table did not go silent. No one else heard it. Or if they did not understand it. But I heard it. Every word, every implication, every layer of meaning beneath the surface. She blamed me for the money she had helped steal, for Ruth's legacy, destroyed by her own son and enabled by her own hand. She blamed me for not being smarter, not being more careful, not being anything other than the person she had always expected me to be, the one who would be fine. I set down my fork, very carefully, aligned it with the edge of my plate. Excuse me, I said. I stood up, placed my napkin on the table, and walked out of the kitchen. I did not go back. Diane called me the next day. You left without saying goodbye. Yes. Are you upset about something? I almost laughed. Almost. No, Mom. Everything is fine. Good. I was worried. You seemed tense at dinner. I was not tense. Well, you know how I worry about you. A pause. Marcus mentioned he might need some help with paperwork for his company. He was wondering if you might have a few minutes this week to look at some documents. There it was. The ask, wrapped in casual conversation, delivered with the same gentle pressure she had used her entire life. What kind of documents? I asked. Just some financial paperwork. He says it is complicated and he could use a second pair of eyes. You are so good with numbers, Nadia. I will think about it. Do not wait too long. He needs it before the new year. I did not think about it. I called Patricia. Marcus is asking me to sign something. I said, what kind of something? Diane says financial paperwork for his company, Greenfield Ventures. Patricia was silent for a beat. Do not sign anything. Do not even look at the documents until I have seen them first. I was not going to sign anything. Good. But Nadia, listen to me. If Marcus is asking you to sign paperwork for Greenfield Ventures, it is not because he needs a second pair of eyes. It is because he needs your signature for something specific, something that benefits him. What could my signature possibly do for him? That depends on what the paperwork says. Send it to me the moment you receive it. Do not tell him you are consulting a lawyer. The documents arrived 2 days later, via email. Marcus had sent them himself, not through Diane. A casual email. Hey Nia, Mom said you might be able to help me out with some paperwork. Just need you to sign a couple of things. Nothing major. Let me know if you have questions. Nothing major. I forwarded the email and attachments to Patricia without opening them myself. She called me back within the hour. Nadia, she said. Her voice was very controlled, the way it got when she was angry but did not want to show it. This is remarkable. What is it? This is a resolution agreement. It would officially dissolve any claim you might have to the funds transferred out of your investment account. In exchange, you would receive a nominal payment of $5,000 and a written apology from Dennis Chen, $5,000 for $72,000 that was stolen from you. And if I sign it? If you sign it, you legally forfeit any right to pursue the matter further. Against Dennis, against Greenfield Ventures, against Marcus, against anyone. I sat on my bed, phone pressed to my ear, listening to the sound of my own breathing. They think I will sign it, I said. They are betting on it. They think you will take the $5,000 because the alternative, a drawn-out legal battle, feels exhausting. They think you will want it to go away. They are wrong. I know they are. Which is why we are going to do something better than sign it. Patricia and I spent the next 2 weeks preparing. We filed the civil lawsuit on a Tuesday in February. The defendants were Dennis Chen, Marcus, and Greenfield Ventures. The complaint detailed everything. the unauthorized co-manager authorization, the fraudulent transfers, the shell company, the attempted settlement through a misleading resolution agreement. We also filed a complaint with the State Attorney General's office. Financial fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy. And then, at Patricia's suggestion, we did one more thing. We sent a copy of everything to the Financial Regulatory Board, to the local newspaper's investigative desk, and to every person in Diane's social circle whose contact information I could find. Not to embarrass her, not to destroy her reputation for the sake of destruction, but because Diane had spent my entire life protecting Marcus from consequences. And for the first time, the consequences were going to find him whether she liked it or not. I did not tell Diane or Marcus what was coming. I simply waited. The story broke on a Thursday. I was at the hospital, 3 hours into a 12-hour shift, when my phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. It is out. The newspaper. Page 1 of the business section online. I did not read the article until my break. I sat in the break room with cold coffee, scrolling through it on my phone. The journalist had done thorough work. Dennis Chen's scheme was laid out in detail. Greenfield Ventures was identified as a front company. Marcus was named. The amounts were listed. Diane was mentioned once, in a single sentence. The investor's mother, who had authorized herself as co-manager on the account, has not responded to requests for comment. I set down my phone and went back to work. What happened next? I learned in pieces. From Patricia, from mutual acquaintances, from the silence of my phone, which told its own story. The Financial Regulatory Board moved quickly. Dennis Chen's license was revoked within days. His other clients came forward. There were others. It turned out Marcus was not the only beneficiary. Marcus was served with papers, the civil lawsuit and the criminal complaint. Kayla left him the same week. His apartment, the one in the expensive part of town that I had always wondered how he afforded, was repossessed for unpaid rent. Greenfield Ventures was dissolved. The State Attorney General's office seized what assets remained, which was not much. Marcus had spent most of the money. On what? I did not ask. I did not need to know. Diane's social circle shifted. The friends she had entertained at Christmas dinner grew quiet. Some stopped returning her calls. Others asked questions she could not answer. Her brother, my Uncle Thomas, called me directly. The first time he had ever called me without Diane knowing. I am sorry, Nadia, he said. I had no idea. Thank you for calling. Is there anything you need? No, I just need it to stop. Diane called me once, after it all came out. I did not answer. She left a voicemail. Nadia, I need to talk to you. Please call me back. This has gone too far. I listened to the message. Then I deleted it. She called again the next day, and the next. Each time, I let it go to voicemail. Each time, I deleted the message without listening past the first sentence. On the fourth day, she stopped calling. 3 weeks later, a different kind of call came. It was a Saturday morning. I was making coffee, watching the light come through my kitchen window, the pale gold of early spring. The number was unfamiliar. I almost did not answer. Nadia, it is Diane. Different phone. Of course, I am listening. I said, I need your signature. I set down the coffee mug, very carefully, aligned it with the edge of the counter. On what? On the house. Diane's voice was stripped of its usual composure. Thin, raw, almost desperate. There is a reverse mortgage on the property. It came due. I need to refinance, and the bank is requiring signatures from all known family members who might have a claim. I do not have a claim on your house. Legally, you might, through your father. He owned half before he died, and the estate was never formally settled. My father had died when I was 15. It was true that the house had been jointly owned and the estate had been handled informally. I had never thought about it. It had never mattered to me. Until now. What happens if I do not sign? I asked. The bank forecloses. I lose the house. I sat down. The kitchen was quiet except for the sound of the coffee maker finishing its cycle. You lose the house, I repeated. Yes. The house where you hosted dinner parties, where you entertained your friends, where you showed Marcus's girlfriend around and made her feel welcome. Nadia, the house where you sat across from me at Christmas and blamed me for losing my own inheritance. Silence. I need your signature, Diane said again. Her voice broke slightly on the last word. I did not feel satisfied. I did not feel vindicated. I did not feel the sharp pleasure of watching someone who had hurt me suffer the consequences. I felt tired. And underneath the tiredness, something quieter, something that felt almost like pity. I did not sign that day. I told Diane I would think about it. Then I called Patricia. She wants me to sign something for her house, I said. Do not sign anything without my review. I know, but Patricia, should I help her? A pause. That is not a legal question. I know that too. Then I cannot answer it for you. I thought about it for a week. I thought about Ruth, who had saved $80,000 over a lifetime, who had given it to me because she wanted me to have a foundation, a start. I thought about Diane, who had taken that foundation and handed it to a man who handed it to Marcus. I thought about the middle seat on every metaphorical flight I had ever taken in my life, the smallest bedroom, the patience that was never reciprocated. And I thought about what it would mean to sign, not for Diane, not for the house, but for me. I signed the papers, not because I forgave her, not because I believed she deserved to keep her house. I signed because Ruth would have wanted me to, because holding on to anger as a weapon was just another way of staying connected to the person who had hurt me, and because the signature was not a gift, it was a release. I was releasing myself from Diane's world, from her calculations and her priorities and her quiet, constant preference for the son who never earned it. I signed the papers, sent them back, and did not call to confirm. Diane texted me once after that, a single message, "Thank you." I did not respond. Spring turned to summer. I kept working, kept saving. The lawsuit against Marcus and Dennis was progressing slowly through the courts, and Patricia was optimistic about recovering some portion of the money, though she reminded me regularly that recovery was never guaranteed. I did not think about the money much. Ruth's $80,000 was gone, and no court judgment would bring it back in the same form. What I could recover, if anything, would be a number on a check. Not the same thing. What Ruth had actually given me was not money. It was the knowledge that someone had thought I was worth investing in. That someone had spent decades building something specifically so I could have a start. That knowledge was not something Marcus or Dennis or Diane could take. I bought a small house that fall, not a condo. A house. A craftsman bungalow on a street with old trees and neighbors who waved when they saw you. It needed work. The kitchen was dated. The bathroom tile was cracked. The backyard was overgrown with weeds. I loved it immediately. I moved in on a Saturday in October. The air smelled like fallen leaves and damp earth. The light through the living room window was golden amber, the kind of light that makes everything look warmer than it is. I sat on the floor of the empty living room with a cup of tea and looked around at the space that was mine. Entirely, completely, undisputedly mine. No one else's name on the paperwork. No co-manager. No hidden clauses. Just mine. Ruth would have liked this house. She would have loved the backyard, would have planted tomatoes and basil and the lavender she always kept near her front door. I planted lavender the following spring. It bloomed in June, filling the yard with a scent that reminded me of her, of Sunday afternoons in her kitchen, of the way she used to hold my face in her hands and say, "You are going to be just fine, my girl." I was going to be just fine. Not because someone had saved me, not because someone had fought for me, but because I had finally stopped letting other people decide what I was worth. I have not spoken to Diane since the papers were signed. I do not know if she thinks about me. I do not know if she regrets what happened. I do not know if she understands, even now, what she took from me. It does not matter. What matters is this. I am 32 years old. I own a house. I have a career I am proud of. I have savings that are mine, earned by my own hands, managed by no one but me. I have a garden with lavender, and I have the quiet, unshakable knowledge that I did not need anyone to make me whole. I was whole all along. What do you think? Was I right to sign those papers and save Diane's house? Or should I have let the bank foreclose after everything she did to me? Some people would say she did not deserve my help after enabling Marcus to steal from me. Others might say that letting go was the healthiest choice. If your mother had done what mine did, would you have helped her in the end? Or would you have walked away completely? I want to hear your honest opinion. Share your thoughts in the comments. If you believe people should face the consequences of their actions, hit subscribe. I have got more stories of justice that will blow your mind.